Alright, welcome back here to our video series on the world's best AJAX demo, where we are building from start to finish, starting with nothing and then ending with a fully functioning AJAX system that queries a database, a MySQL database. This is video 3. On videos 1 and 2 we set up our web space, had web hosting with yonos.com, and then we also built the HTML layout of this page, which we can see right here. It's just a simple input field. We've got a dummy table which is going to display our result set, and then we have just an embedded YouTube video here to prove that we are going to be able to play this video and then do searches while pulling back live data from the database without refreshing the page. So this is video 3, and this video will cover the JavaScript side of things. So basically, when the user enters data in here, on every key up, we're going to call a JavaScript function that's going to grab the data that's in the input field, pass it to a server, and get a response back, and then that response will replace whatever this table data is. So on key up, we're going to query the database, get a response, and then present it to the user. The fully functioning bit of this, for example, is right here. You can see we're querying live data set, running a MySQL query, getting a database results back, looping through, dumping the results in a table. And anything we search for, you can see this does happen to without a page refresh, because this YouTube video keeps playing. So where we left things on the last video is we have a web page that looks like this, and behind that web page is HTML that looks like this. So we do have our input field on key up runs this function called search, and then our search JavaScript function here, all it does is alert key up happened. So if we were to go here, we type in an A, we know that a key up event happened. So what we need to do in this video is replace this single line with the AJAX piece that will grab the input from the user, pass it to a server page. That page will process the data and then get a response back, and then we will replace this dummy table with whatever that response was. So this results table will get overwritten with the results. So if I go into this JavaScript function, the first thing we need to do is get the data that the user entered and put that in a JavaScript variable. So we can call it var data equals document.get element by ID. And this will be the name of our ID tag here, which is just data.value. So now if we want, we can go alert data. So on key up, we're going to call this function. The function is going to pull the data here, and then it's going to present the data in an input field. So if I were to save this, go over here, refresh. If I type J, you can see it's now got a J. If I type O, it's now doing JO. So the onKeep event is working. We're getting the data. Now we need to do more than just populate that in a pop-up box. We need to work with the available functionality within JavaScript to take this and pass it to an external page. So we're going to create a couple more variables, and we're going to create a new XML HTTP request. And we're going to reference that again later, but what else we need to do is define where we are going to send the data. So this is the URL that we're going to pass the variable to. We can call it anything we want. I'll just call it ajax.php. And we also need to define what we are going to send. So in this case, it's pretty simple. We're going to send one variable. Its name is going to be data, and the data we're going to send is, this actually has a syntax error in it. There we go. The data that we're going to send to the server is the data defined here, which again is the user input here. So var vars equals data equals data. And we're going to pull that in via post. So you'll see that on the PHP version, PHP edition, or I guess the PHP topic of this video. So now that we have our variables defined, we need to, again working with this XML HTTP request, we need to create this. And you don't really need to know much about this other than that this is what you need to do to make it work. And this will be a method post, and you'll see that again on the PHP side of things. So we need to HR set request header. And again, this is something you don't really need to know much detail of. Copy and paste it. I think I need to put this in a quote. But it will be required to make your AJAX work how you want. Alrighty. So this is going to be the function that happens kind of this we'll see will kind of drive the data that gets presented on the page. So we will wrap this in an if tag. So this is basically saying when the ready state is 4, so there's going to be different integer values that come back based on whether the data is processing, whether it's succeeded, whether it's returned, things like that. So when the state is 4 and the status is 200, that means data has returned from our AJAX call. Data has returned. So here is what do we want to do? We've got data back. We want to populate a div tag with it. So the var return data equals hr.response text. So this is the response from the web server. Whatever we decide we want to send back based on the processing of this variable at this page is going to come back as hr.response text. So we turn that into a variable that we can then use later. And in this simple example, we're just going to take whatever data comes back and we're going to populate the results ID with that data. So with the return data set, we just want to go document.get element by ID results.inner HTML equals return data. So this is saying from the top, we're going to pass the data to this. The data we're going to pass is this. When we get a response, we're going to take that response and store it as return data, a JavaScript variable, and then we're going to populate the inner HTML of the results div, which we created down here, with that return set of data. So if that isn't happening, if we don't have a proper response, a successful response, the page is still processing, it's waiting for a result. What do we want to do? We want to make this div say something else. So we can make it say anything we want. So just to be simple, we're going to give it a h3 class text center. We're going to have it say loading. So this would clue in a user that something is happening and we are in a waiting state. So while this loads, the user knows something's happening. You could replace this with an animated GIF. Maybe we'll do that in the extended cut of this. But for this purpose, this should pass off, it should notify the user what's going on. So this is our JavaScript function. There's not much more to it than that, and it almost always looks like this. The only thing that you'll really change is what your div tags are called, what your PHP page that you're sending the data to is called, and you may find that you have one or many variables here. For this case, we just have a simple data variable. So I'm going to delete that alert. And to make this work, we do need an ajax.php page. So we are going to go new file, ajax.php. So this should pass back whatever this page passes back. And since we're We've got a separate video for the PHP processing because that will take probably another 10 minutes. We're just going to output success. And if we save that, it is a PHP page, so let's do it like this. Forgive me, we got a little tiny bit of PHP on this page. So our ajax.php, all it's going to say is success. This page is being told to pass the data to this page, and when you get a result, or I guess while you're waiting for a result, output the word loading. When you get a result, populate the results div with that result. So we're going to test this. I don't think it has any syntax errors, but it may. We should see what we have here. This table should remain when I do an onKeyUp event. Alright, so the onKeyUp event and nothing happened. So I guess we are going to try to do a little bit of quick troubleshooting. So the function looks pretty good. URL, I have this URL encoded, I believe is the URL encoded. That is an error. And these capital D's may also be an error. And I do also see something else that would have caused this to never work. I am just straight up missing the last line here that will allow us to actually execute any of this. So it's hr.send and then the vars. So hr.send is what is going to send this. So without that, I don't think anything would happen. Certainly our data wouldn't have gotten there. So we fixed URL encoded, we fixed the ID capitals, and now we are going to save and I guess see what we get. And with any luck, it just echoes back success. And then we have a working version of AJAX on our site. So I'm going to refresh this, control refresh. I am going to just type in a letter. All right, so we sent the letter K off. It did go to ajax.php and we did get a response success. So the JavaScript portion of this demo is actually fully functional now after a little bit of a hiccup. And if we want to, and I guess we're going to end this video just by passing back the data. So the data we pass gets to this page as a post variable with the name data. So we define it as data, and then we can just for a simple demo, and there's going to be a lot more PHP in the next PHP video regarding AJAX, but this is going to grab the variable we send, and then it's going to output this string, and then it's going to tell us what we sent. So let me save that. I'll go back over here, control enter, and I'm just going to send the capital letter J. So now we said success, data sent was, and it's a capital J. So if I go O, it's going to keep adding on, because every time I do an onKeyUp event, it sends to the server compiles the string. It adds a suffix of the user input data to the string. So this is AJAX fully functional, not overly practical because we aren't querying a database and returning a result set yet, which we will do in the subsequent videos. So this wraps up our JavaScript portion of our AJAX demo, where we built this JavaScript function to capture the user input, pass it to the server, assemble some sort of response, and then output it back to the user. So our next video, I think, will probably be either the database portion, probably the database build, where we build a database table that we also connect to, that we work with. So we will query a live database with our user input instead. So check that video out, and I guess in the meantime, like and subscribe to this one.